It just occurred to me that there's no reason why a Shadox couldn't have a phylactery as well. In fact, that'd be a bit safer than storing the soul simply in the destroyable body. A phylactery makes a lot of sense for a Shadox. A Shadox is at its most vulnerable if the body is destroyed because that exposes the soul, which is the actual Shadox, by the way. The soul is the actual entity. The body is simply a toucan. What was I going to say? Technically, Shadox bodies are not it's kind of similar to how a Shadox body is just a puppet as well, technically. The Shadox can abandon their body for a bit and come back to it later. It's like a puppet or a piece of clothing. The body is actual flesh and blood, though. It's not made of clay or anything unusual. Shadox bodies are... Now, granted, it is flesh and blood conjured from condensed spectral energy. So it's not exactly normal flesh and blood, even so. But it is technically flesh and blood. I would like to note that Shadoxes are very heavy into experimentation with creatures that are not soul eaters. For instance, just to be slightly macabre here, but we're playing a pretty bloody Zyosur game, so I think it's okay to talk about it. A Shadox is completely okay with the body being killed off as long as it's through a method that doesn't also risk the soul. I mean, the body takes energy to make, and energy takes a while to consume and gather. So it is a waste of energy to lose a body. But in some circumstances, a Shadox may be completely okay with that, or even interested in doing that, if it benefits them long term, or is at least interesting. There also are situations where a Shadox may even do crazy things like, you know how, like, you know those horrific, like alien infection creatures in some horror media that, like, oh no, they possess you now, you're like throwing out tentacles and like, you're taking over. A Shadox might do that just for fun, because even if the body is absolutely corrupted by another entity, as long as their soul is fine, it's fine. Like, they could entertain themselves with a corruptive influence, lose that particular body over it, but be like, yeah, it's fine. What's interesting, though, is when you have, like, an alien or infection or something that, like, takes over the mind, what that actually does is it will actually wrest control of the body away from the Shadox, but it will not take over the Shadox's own mental capacity. A Shadox can decide to gain an incurable, like, infectious entity or horrific force just because it's fun, and that body is disposable. It's like getting a shirt ruined. It's like if you spill ink on a shirt and now you can't, and now like the shirt's ruined, you got a new shirt. It's like, that's fine. It's just a shirt. Like it might suck, it might be annoying sometimes, but it's just a shirt. You can get another one. So Shadoxes are technically zombies at all times. All we Shadoxes are with our bodies is we are zombies. We are undead. The bodies are undead. The bodies are completely fresh and healthy as long as we have spectral energy to keep them going. And they do have a full circulatory system, organs, etc. And it all works perfectly fine. But the moment that a Shadox with a body starts running out of spectral energy to keep it going, the body will immediately start to rot just like a zombie. That does not mean they can't continue to use it, though if the body decays too far, it becomes unusable, obviously. So a Shadox who is starving, if you see a Shadox and they look zombie-like with their body rotting, that means they're starving. That means they need more energy, because they are not able to keep the body alive, basically. It's effectively the spectral energy of a Shadox allows the body to survive. It's kind of like a life support, where the body is completely healthy and alive as long as there's energy, but the moment the energy is too little, as soon as there's not enough energy for the body just starts to decay. It basically, we are always a zombie. We just don't decay because we have enough energy. So that's why it's important for Shadoxes to maintain their energy and also balance the usage of it. Shadoxes are very powerful, but we all function off a spectral battery. We don't have enough of that. We can't even have a body, and we're very weak and pretty defenseless, actually. It's hard to kill off the Shadox completely unless you can consume souls. But it is very possible to make a Shadox a non-issue for quite a while. If you were to drain their energy by destroying their body and such. Shadoxes are their bodies are still Shadoxes too. They're just Shadox clothing effectively, but it is their clothing, their unique clothing, because every Shadox can build their own body, but their own body is specified to their personality, their traits, etc. Every Shadox can rebuild that body And it is possible for more powerful Shadoxes, more experienced Shadoxes to create Dox hybrid forms where like, oh, I want to create a deer form for myself. They're going to make a deer form of their normal Shadox self. And every Shadox has their own personality traits that automatically determine what they can build. Every Shadox is a little bit different than another Shadox because every Shadox person is a little bit different. So what they can build is based on their traits and nothing more. So yeah, we can always build new bodies, but that body will always resemble a specific thing that represents that Shadox, you know? They can't make, but we can choose to implement other animal traits into the body. But it still will, like for instance, if I make a deer Dox, I'm still going to be purple. I'm still going to be pink, purple, floofy, because that's what my personality determines my Shadox body to be. So even if I hybridize with another animal, you will still see a lot of the colors and traits from my original body in it. Because a hybrid is never going to... It's kind of like how Ditto, it can't completely transform to another Pokemon, you know? Like, there's always going to be that Ditto face. It's sort of like that. By no means are we, like, invincible. We have a lot of powerful abilities, but that all costs spectral energy, too. So anytime we do a cool, powerful ghost ability, that's taking from our supply of energy that also needs to power our body, that also allows us to have the body as an armor protecting our soul from creatures that could just... Because Shadox without their body is basically free pickings for anything that could consume souls. It's not too hard at that point. They are very weak to that. To some extent, spectral energy can be used to repair the body, but if the body has been rotting for a while, that's probably not repairable. It would, at that point, they still have... It's kind of like if you tear a piece of clothing. Again, think about clothing. If you tear a piece of clothing, you can stitch that up. But if you completely rip it to shreds, it's probably better just to get a new shirt, right? Also, rot is a lot harder to repair than actual injuries. If a Shadox gets themselves cut, if their leg gets cut or something, that's a much easier injury to repair than a deep rot that has existed because they didn't have enough energy for a while. Rot's a lot harder to repair, so a lot of times if a Shadox body has started to rot and then they regain their energy, they're more likely to just want to get rid of that body and make a new one. Shadoxes can feel pain if they want, or if they want to, they can turn that off. Obviously, there's a benefit to both, especially if you're rotting like a zombie, because that kind of hurts if you leave the pain receptors on. Entities that simply cause harm physically are not a big deal to Shadoxes. Entities that cause spiritual or soul harm are a big deal, extremely. But entities that don't cause harm at all, and instead do an effect that doesn't involve direct harm, that can still be bad for a Shadox. So, in an instance, a Shadox being sent back in time, that would still happen in that situation. Specifically, send you as far back as you have life remain, so you die of natural causes around when they touch you. Oh, that would be a weird mechanic for a Shadox to deal with, then. Because Shadoxes are immortal as long as their souls are not killed. So what the fuck does that mean? Would a Shadox be sent to the birth of the universe? Like, I feel like that mechanic reacts very oddly with an immortal creature. Shadox bodies do have a lifespan. They do have kind of... It's rather extended. But if a Shadox does really well for themselves and never needs to replace the body can die of old age. It's usually around 20 years. That's how long a body can generally hold up. Though it will become more decrepit over time. I'm speaking that a Shadox body will age, and that is specifically if the body is sustained with spectral energy, but not further empowered with spectral energy. If spectral energy is supplied in reams to the body, then the body would not age. But that would require extra energy, right? Constantly require extra energy. So it's really a debate whether a Shadox would want to just let their body naturally age to have it consume less energy, or if they would like to keep it immortal. Since the body is replaceable at any time as well, though it does cost energy to do that as well, obviously, it's kind of a F this or that sort of situation. Keeping the body constantly in its prime could be valuable, especially in certain situations, but also just replacing it when it starts feeling a little too old and creaky is also completely fine. If a Dear Weeping Angel sends you back based on your lifespan, okay, in that situation, the time travel happens in basically an instant, right? So the Shadox would actually have that body age. Because for a bit of time, specifically that lifespan duration, the Shadox would not have, like, direct control over what's going on. So the body would just naturally start to age. Actually, it wouldn't age. If the Shadox loses the ability to control how the body is regulating because of that time travel, then the body would die pretty fast because it would enter into decay state. The energy drain would be a problem with that time travel. occurring. So, yeah, the body would just rot and die. See, you have to keep in mind, Shadoxes have to manage their energy consciously. So whether the body decays or not, whether the body receives basically the spectral nutrition it needs, or whether the body is super empowered and doesn't age, that's all Shadox's decision. If a Weeping Angel is causing time travel, the Shadox has their body time traveling without them being able to make a decision. So without making a decision, the body would start to decay. There has to be at least some conscious control in keeping the body going with that energy. The energy is always within the energy wells of the spectral energy wells are always within the Shadox's control. Except for if the control is rested, then they'll just do what they do naturally, and that it would be decay. These are very metaphysical topics we're getting into, but it's kind of interesting. Anyways, to bring everything back around to this game, and this is why Shadoxes would happily leap into the maws of dinosaurs. Anyways,